What's going on, everybody? It's Dan here, back with the moonshine talking. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Mine's going all right so far. Can't really complain. Um, so, as you all know, I'm into pro wrestling and all that sort of stuff. And apparently, last night, since I don't follow, apparently they had a pay per view, or what they call nowadays a premium live event, a PLE. Yeah, back in my day, we just called them pay per views. But anyhow, so there's a elimination chamber, and the way pro wrestling WWE in particular works, if you're not familiar, they have the big lead up to WrestleMania, which is the big event of the year. As my camera goes fuzzy, uh, WrestleMania is the big event of the year for WWE. It's probably the biggest event of the year always since the friggin' 80s. The only thing that might have came close to it would have been Starcade back in the day, but that's also depends on your personal preferences. But anyhow, you don't need the whole history of pro wrestling. So the lead up to WrestleMania has always been the quote unquote road to WrestleMania has always been you start at the Royal Rumble, which is it's an event where the big showcase match is a gigantic 30-man and now women battle royal. Uh, Winner gets a shot for the title at WrestleMania. So that's the big hook for the Royal Rumble, and then everything from that point on pretty much leads up to WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year. So apparently last night they had one Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber is a gimmick match. It's it's a new spin on a cage match, but they've got all these like friggin' it's constructed way different than a steel cage. There's all these pods inside and chains and it's a lot more sturdy and probably in a lot of respects a lot more dangerous than your typical steel cage. Uh, I've never been in an elimination chamber, so I don't know what it feels like to bump on one, but I can't imagine just watching it. It doesn't look pleasant. But I guess the whole idea is that they do the same thing where there's intervals and they've got like five or six people, maybe more than that, maybe seven or whatever the case is. However many competitors in the match, they come out at different intervals and blah blah, blah and eventually winner gets it. So yeah, this whole thing, and not to get into the whole like soap opera kind of crap with wrestling, but the champ right now is a guy named Cody Rhodes. Older fans who don't really follow, tuned out a long time ago, would know him as Dusty Rhodes' son. Dusty Rhodes, legendary American professional wrestler, the American Dream, baby. But he's the champ, and The Rock, who a lot of people, probably everybody knows who The Rock is. The Rock is a household name at this point. He's basically a brand. He's like the de facto like authority figure on the show because they've always got to have the authority figure. They've been doing that since the '90s with Mr. McMahon, all that sort of stuff. So he's doing his, and he's supposed to be the heel, the bad authority figure, just like corrupt boss. I think he calls himself the final boss. I think that's what it is. But he's also legit. He is a boss behind the scenes. He's a shareholder in TKO Endeavor, which is the company that bought World Wrestling Entertainment from the McMahon family. And he bought a bunch of shares in it. So he is legit a backstage player as far as the company goes. He is heavily invested in the company. He is a third generation superstar. So his whole life, his family's lives, his extended family's lives. They get the whole bloodline gimmick. That's like shoot. That's a legit thing. Like it just seems like practically every Samoan person in the business, or I should say, it almost seems like most Samoan people in the country or in the world are all in the pro wrestling business. It just seems like everybody's related to everybody, or the other. It's there's a lot of Samoan wrestlers, but and that's not a shot or a knock on anybody. It is what it is. It's there's so many legendary guys over the years, but that could be a whole other rant. So anyhow, he's doing this whole thing where he's trying to get Cody to join the dark side and sell his soul to him and blah blah blah. So fast forward to the Elimination Chamber. Apparently, John Cena, who a lot of people probably know, John Cena is probably the biggest pro wrestler to come out of the industry in the past, I don't know, like 20 years or so. I want to say, just for context, when I was in the business, I got in a couple of years before he did. And it was right before OVW started becoming a thing. Matter of fact, one of my uh, one of my classmates, one of my schoolmates, training mates from Malenko's, he actually somehow, some way, he got into contact with the people from OVW before it became a huge thing and WWE took over and all that. But OVW eventually they started recruiting people. John Cena was one of them. They took him from a California indie, brought him to their developmental, developed him from the prototype to John Cena, and eventually he took off and became the biggest name in the industry, and eventually has now since gone to Hollywood and makes a bunch of shitty movies and does a lot of voiceover work and comes back every once in a while for everybody to make fun of his bald spot and pretend like they all like half the crowd pretends like they liked him and the other half of the crowd pretends like they hated him. So anyhow, he's there, he wins, they do this whole thing, and apparently I watched the whole segment probably like 20 minutes ago. He turned heel, like he became a bad guy. He's been a face his entire career, and this has been something that fans have kind of been clamoring for as just like to freshen up his character or give him a different angle, a way to pursue how he does things. So they did that, and he joins up with The Rock, and The Rock had this hip hop rapper guy with him who I had no idea who the hell it was. I don't, like I said, I don't really follow a lot of modern wrestling. I don't follow the modern stuff. So I didn't really know too much about what was going on. I cut the cord probably like 2 years ago, and I really haven't been watching wrestling religiously like I used to. But apparently it's this guy Travis Scott, and all I know about this guy is that he apparently had some music festival in Texas and a bunch of people got trampled. And that's all I know about the guy. I don't listen to his music. I don't listen to a bunch of modern rap. My interest in that genre stops in the 90s. And yes, they do a whole thing. Cena, Rock, and the Scott fella come out. And this guy's a midget, by the way. He's just he comes in the ring and he's like 6 or 7 inches shorter than the shortest guy in the ring, and he's scrawny. He's like 140 pounds. He's walking around with a title belt around his shoulder, and apparently at one point he's doing some dumb shit. I'll just get this out of the way. My thoughts on this guy, this goof. And he's in the corner, and he looked. I thought he was playing with a lighter, which I was like, "What the hell is this idiot doing? Like, why are you here? Why are they paying you?" And they're probably paying him ungodly sums of money to be there. And apparently, he was burning sage, which I'm imagining is some gimmick of his in his routine and with his persona in the music business. But just so stupid. I mean, even stupid. A lot of wrestling can get cartoony, and I know that's why a lot of people tune out of it. But this is just bad. I mean, no place it had no place there, had no business being there, other than I guess they're trying to go, oh, he's like, because now all these rap artists, they're all trying to like embrace, like, oh, they're all part of the Illuminati and all that sort of dumb shit. So, oh, look, The Rock is evil because he's with this guy who's evil, and they're all part of the secret cabal of Hollywood blood drinkers and blah blah blah. So anyhow, so Rock cuts promo. Cody tells him to go F himself, and that's probably the closest to the crowd getting a reaction, because at this point they're all dead. They're just dead. I mean, for a packed venue like WWE gets nowadays, every segment I see, they get no crowd reaction, and it's always they're sweetening the crowd noise, they're piping in chants and stuff like that. These guys aren't over. They're not over. Cody Rhodes is their champion. The thing that gets the most over with him is his song, his entrance song. He's got a part in there that goes, wow. And I'm not saying this just to be some edgy boy contrarian. I was at Royal Rumble last year. There were guys there, him included. The most over thing was their song. Him, Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura. The most over thing, and these are guys that are featured prominently on their television. The most over thing was their song. That's all people cared about. So anyhow, a little side note, but he kind of, they wake the dead with him using a swear word. So then they start doing their holy shit chant, and this goes on for they kind of like milk it, milk it, milk it. Cena's carrying on like a goof and run around the ring, just kind of carrying on, just selling it. And then the two of them, Rhodes and Cena, hug, and Rock gives him a look, and next thing you know, Cena kicks him in the balls, and the crowd wakes. Now this is the most reaction that they've gotten from the crowd the entire time of this entire segment. And I mean, and you're talking Rocks out there. They're supposedly most over person in the company. John Cena, one of the biggest names in the business, is out there. And this is the thing that's gotten the biggest reaction. So then he starts putting the boots to him. He hits him with a Cody Rhodes comes out very dapperly dressed, and he had a watch that fell off. So Cena puts that on, uses it to hit him like if it were brass knucks. And stupid Michael Cole. Michael Cole's one of the ring announcers. They also have Pat McAfee, he's an ESPN sports commentator, and he used to be a kicker for the Indianapolis Colts, I guess. He's done a couple matches. He's halfway decent in the ring. But he's trained by Rip Rogers, who used to run the beginners class at OVW, so that's not surprising. Rip is a tremendous, tremendous talent. He was a tremendous talent himself. He's a phenomenal trainer. He's got his own podcast on YouTube where he talks about the business and answers questions. He's just a wealth of knowledge, he was a phenomenal worker in his day and a great coach. I got to work with him very briefly at one point, and he's great. Can't say enough good things about Rip Rogers. So there he starts like first thing he does, he calls them brass knuckles, which just shows that you're not paying attention to anything that's going on around you. So Pat McAfee had to correct him. I mean, that's one thing. It's just kind of, and then he starts swearing, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? This is, I mean, by and large, adults watch this, but you got to figure there's tons of kids watching this. This is how you try to get lifelong fans by hooking the kids in, because when I was a kid, I was prone to suspending disbelief and being impressionable with all the characters and like the pomp and circumstance and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I don't get the whole, why that's not you. And it's not even the swearing. It's just, that's not you. That's not you trying to be all edgy boy and all this sort of stuff. Oh, I can swear now, so that's what I'm going to do. It's like, and I heard him do an interview like, oh, well, now Vince McMahon's gone, I'm unleashed. It's like, well, someone needs to put this guy back on a leash, because he just comes off like a dork. He's just a dork. So that's my thoughts on that. Yeah, so not paying attention, trying to act all cool by swearing, and just comes off like a dork. So anyhow, so Cena hits him with the Rolex. Cody starts bleeding. Then he starts choking him out with a tie. And again, here comes this idiot, Travis Scott, to try and help out. The idea is they're going to lay Cody Rhodes out. Rock's got a belt on. He's going to start whipping Cody Rhodes. And the belt says, Cody Rhodes, sell your soul, or something like that. Sell your soul to Rock, or something like that. Some sort of nonsense like that. So at one point, Cena he's choking out. He rips off Cody's suit, starts choking him out with his tie, and that helps, kind of get more blood flowing. And they get him to a point where they're trying to lay him out to do the whipping spot. And this idiot comes up, and he's got absolutely no idea what he's doing. He has no business being there. I don't know. I saw the Royal Rumble, and they had some internet personality come out, and he apparently got creamed by Braun Breaker, which is Rick Steiner's kid. Greatest thing they could have ever done. some of these people have absolutely no business being near a ring. I understand the having celebrities; it's been a thing in the business forever. But at the same time, some of these people have absolutely no business being near a ring. They have no business being in the ring. There's I get the appeal. I get the idea of trying to cater to mainstream culture, but at the same time, some of these people just have no idea what they're doing. They have two left feet. They have no understanding of the business. They don't know how to work. They don't know how to sell. They have no idea what they're getting into. It's a lot more physical and tough than people realize. And just because you sold a couple of gold records, that alone should not be. You want to have him in there doing something, fine, but keep him out of the friggin' ring. Just keep him, because this guy had no idea what he's doing. He's like smearing the blood on Cody's face and rubbing it all over his face, and then he's pushing his head up to where his entire back is being bowed backwards to the point where Cena looked like he had to press his head down, like kind of like politely tell him, "No, asshole, let him go. We're trying to whip him, you idiot." So then they do the spot, and like I said, the crowd finally woke up. It was probably they finally got into something. So that was the thing. So kind of get into my thoughts on it. I mean, it was good. It was a good segment for what it was, but I do think I don't know where they're going with it. It's kind of one of those things where I almost feel like they're going to go the whole route because there's another guy who, and I know Scott from No Solution will hate this, CM Punk. Uh, they're probably going to do a thing where I don't know how many more big events they have leading up to WrestleMania, but I can imagine them doing something where they're going to build up to a tag match with Rock and Cena versus Punk and Rhodes and try to do like the old school versus the not so old school and do that sort of thing and try to like, oh, we're the locker room leaders versus the corporate sellouts or whatever the case is. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say yeah, it was good, but I think that probably because I know Cena plans on retiring, I think that this is probably it's a little, I wouldn't maybe saying desperate's a little hyperbolic, but at the same time, it's probably a little too, we're too far along in his career to be doing a heel turn. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense unless they're going to do a double turn towards the tail end and he's going to like, have like his friggin' hero's journey or whatever the hell it is. But it was interesting. It was topical. I've been trying to come up with stuff to talk about as far as wrestling goes, and yeah, it's just I don't know. It was all right, but for the most part, the crowd was dead. The stupid rapper had no business being out there. The Rock is fine in his role. I mean, he is who he is, and people. I think he's kind of. I almost think he's kind of embracing the fact that a lot of people think that he's legitimately evil, hanging out with Oprah and shit. So it's just, I don't know. And then, but yeah, Cena. I don't know if this is a I don't know how it'll be interesting to see how it goes with this because I do think it's a little too late to be doing the heel turn with him. Maybe he should have done this a little bit sooner. It's not like with Hogan when he did his heel turn where he had a big run out of it. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll see how they play it out. I'll try to watch clips and figure that out. And Cody Rhodes, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Him as a champion. He dresses like Homelander from The Boys, if you're familiar with that show. And in my opinion, you change out one of the vowels in the word Homelander, and that's pretty much what I consider him. And I'll let you be creative or imaginative and figure out what what I'm trying to say there. But yeah, it's just I don't know. But I thought it was fun. It was an interesting topic to bring up before I go to work. I just finished and doing my shoulder workout and did some core stuff. And I figured, I was watching it while I was doing all that stuff. And I said, you know what, I'm going to talk about this because it's kind of topical and it's something wrestling related. I've been trying to come up with stuff to talk about wrestling related. I actually got talking to my physical therapist and she got asking me about the business and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, I really enjoy talking to people about wrestling because I think sometimes At least it's my opinion. I think I have an interesting perspective on it. Some might not. They might not think that, but yeah, I just so that's why actually I put a community post asking if anybody had any questions about wrestling that you wanted me to answer, anything that you thought I might be interesting to ask me about wrestling related. I like talking about this stuff. I spent so many years of my life doing it, so it's just something that I'm still somewhat passionate about, and I do enjoy talking about it. So yeah, I'll say that at the end here. If anybody has any questions about wrestling, then feel free to ask, and I'll come up with. If I get enough of them, then I figured I might do like a AMA, like an Ask Me Anything about wrestling kind of video, and answer people's questions. Because yeah, yeah, as you can tell, I still like talking about this stuff. I still enjoy it. I just don't watch a lot of it. I don't have a lot of time to. I don't have the means to. I'm not buying Peacock. I'm not getting Netflix, and I'll just watch clips and try to cherry pick the data, as it were. So anyhow, that's what I got for you. I hope everyone enjoys the video. Hope everyone has a good weekend. Everybody, take it easy. I'm not going to give you my stupid sign off, but everyone have a good weekend, and I'll catch you on the next video. Later.